Hi, this is Kim with Mom's Creative Moments. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do a project recipe that is for a collection that just came out. It's a beautiful collection called Full of Wonder. If you like lavender and purple and blue and aquamarine and all of those really gem-like colors, blue, you're going to love this collection. It is so pretty. It reminds me of bubbles, like you would see the reflection of the luminescence on the bubbles. That's what it reminds me of so much. This project recipe is a super fun one, and I did jazz it up just a little bit to give you some ideas of ways that you might maybe use it just a little bit differently, not a lot, but just a little bit. And I think you're gonna like this one. It goes together pretty easily. So let's check out my workspace and we'll get started. All right, this is my workspace for today, and this is the Full of Wonder collection that just came out last month, and it is so pretty. I just if you have not gotten this collection for some reason, I just want to introduce you to it and kind of give you an idea of the beautiful watercolor papers that are involved in this. We're going to use one of them today. It's actually this one that you can see here on the back, but these are just gorgeous, and the flip sides are equally as pretty and would be beautiful with things from the garden or a wedding. I mean, I can just picture using this with so many things. I've heard many comments and many people say that this reminds them of the emerald gemstone papers that we had a while ago, a couple years back. So I pulled my what I have left of my emerald gemstone paper pack out just to try to kind of compare them, just so you could see them side by side in case you still have any emerald gemstone. It was a very, very popular pack and collection, and though the greens are not quite the same, some of them are very close, some of them are very similar. And the blues, the green and the lighter blues do look very lovely. This piece of paper in particular, I think, blends really well with these colors and the blues. And of course, there's no lavender or purple in this collection, but I think you could still get away with using the two together. They are very, very pretty. Anyway, I just wanted to kind of share that in case it's crossed your mind, so that you can, you know, have an idea of how that might work. But we are going to do the project recipe for Full of Wonder today, which is super cute, and we're going to do a couple of modifications to it just to jazz it up just a little bit. If you don't want to jazz it up, don't. It's fine. It's beautiful just the way it is. But I just thought it might be fun to try some other things. So we'll see how that works out. I've pulled 3 pieces from this collection to use with this project recipe. I've pulled this one, which I mentioned earlier and was showing you. And these 2 right here are also from the collection. And they will be my base pages. So I'm using the tone-on-tone side rather than the watercolor side. Although it is really pretty, but we're going to use this side. I also have a piece of blue cardstock. Those of you who are not aware, our paper packs, when you get them, have these dots up here in the top, and these are dots of the coordinating cardstock recommendations. So that means that purple ice, eggplant, island waters, dark sea green, and blue cardstock will match the colors that are in this collection perfectly. So if you have those, then you can feel free to use those in any capacity with this collection and not worry about it matching the colors or being a little off. So I chose to use blue. You'll notice in the sample that they give us, they chose to use eggplant, and that's completely fine, but I am more of a blue girl than a purple girl, so I am going with this. They have a lot of contrast in this, you'll notice, with the green here and the purple behind. Mine will be a little more blended because I'm using a lot of blue today, but you know, you can build this however you see fit, and give it a lot of contrast or just a little. It's up to you. Sometimes I think it looks better with a lot of contrast, but I decided that I would rather just go with what we're going to use. So let's check out my workspace underneath here, and I'll introduce you to the tools and the other things we're going to use. This is a brand new punch that just came out with this collection. It's called the Garland Banner Punch, and you can see it punches a banner swag, and the swags are connected. You can fit I think it's 4 swags across, maybe slightly more than 4 swags across a page. And we're going to play with that today. We're also going to use our custom cutting system. The smallest circle pattern and the blue blade are what we're going to use to make this circle that they're using right here. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to move my base sheets out of the way, and we'll get back to them later. These are the 2 papers we're going to cut and punch, and so here is our cutting guide. The second page of the project recipe is always the cutting guide. Right now we only have 2 papers to worry about for this one. Got your cardstock, which is represented by the blue block, and your designer paper, which is represented by the peach. So we're going to punch and cut. And let me grab my trimmer. We're going to start with that, and then we'll come back and we'll punch. And so I'm going to go ahead and start with the cardstock, just so we can get that going here. So you'll notice, typically when they give you a block like this that's designed to cut, so you'll notice on the cutting guide that they've got 2 1/4-inch pieces. They're 1/4 inch by 12 on the left. Then we've got 2 4.5 by 6 inch mats. We've got 2 pieces that are 2 inches by 7 1/4, and then we have a circle that we're cutting down here. Generally, when they design a cutting guide, they will go ahead and intend for you to start from the left and work your way across the page. And I believe that's true for this one as well. But you should always, when you see a cutting guide that has multiple different shapes on it, you should just sort of work your way through it mentally and make sure that if I cut it here, I'm not cutting into something else. So you'll notice we don't cut this way to cut these 2 pieces apart first, because then we would cut into these other pieces. I hope that makes sense. And though I am beginning with these 1/4-inch pieces, I am going to cut on the right hand side of my trimmer. So a 1/4 inch is the very edge of the gray cutting mat that I have here. That's 1/4 inch from my cutting blade, and so I'm going to measure it there. The reason I'm going to do that is because it allows me to keep my cardstock against this shoulder down here, which keeps it straight, and then I can just cut confidently. But of course it didn't quite cut all the way through. I just flipped my mat strip just the other day, and it is having to push down a lot harder than I typically do, which, you know, if you have a trimmer, that the first couple of times you use it, you're kind of breaking in that mat strip. So bear with me a second here. Had to go over that one twice. We're going to cut a second 1/4 inch strip, and I'm going to push down harder. There we go. Okay, so there's our 2 1/4 by 12 inch strips. Then we need a 4.5 inch wide piece, which I'm going to measure on the left hand side. So 4.5 inches. And I use my grid to measure because my numbers up here are off just the tiniest bit. So I just always use my grid and try to be consistent, and then that works for me. Okay, so 4.5, then we're going to cut it at 6. So I've got my 6-inch little cheater mark off here to the side at the top. So there's our two 4.5 by 6-inch mats, which I'll lean up there. Come on, stay there. Stay. Okay. Then we're going to cut, let's see, we're going to cut a piece off at 7 1/4. For that, I need the arm on my trimmer, so we're going to move that out and cut at 7 1/4. Then we're going to turn this back around and cut 2 pieces that are 2 inches. So they end up being 2 inches by 7 1/4. All right, and we need 2 of those. So there's one, and we'll cut another one at 2 inches. All right, then this little bit you can just set aside for a sec. And this bit we're going to cut into a circle. But first, so that we can put our trimmer away, we're going to take the designer paper that we pulled out. Decide which way you want it oriented. You're going to have 2 large pieces that go down either side of the layout. They're going to be 4.5 inches wide. So decide what part of this beautiful watercolor you want to be a part of that, and what part is not as appealing to you. That's what's going to make a difference. So I want a little bit of this green in both pieces, and so that can be kind of tough because it's really only on about 1/2 of the paper. But because these pieces are 4.5 by 12, I should be able to get at least a smidgen of that green in the second piece. Oh yeah, this is going to be good. Okay, so 4.5. There's one piece, and I'm going to do the other piece at 4.5. And then we're going to punch this piece that's left. Okay, so those 2 pieces, the big long ones, are going to go there. We're going to cut a circle out of this one. We're going to punch this one. All right. Okay, so let's get the circle done. We need to cut a 4.5-inch circle. That's going to utilize your small custom cutting system circle, your blue blade, and we're going to go around the outer edge of this template. So should be able to do that pretty quick like here. And I'm one of those that likes to try to conserve my paper. So when you have used your custom cutting system for a while, you kind of get used to how far or how close you can get to your edges. Occasionally I misjudge, but most of the time I'm okay at judging that. You can use a template. These custom cutting system patterns come with a template that will allow you to overlay it, and you can see edges and things like that. It works great, but I, years ago, thought I was way too cool for school and didn't need mine, and so I don't know where they are. So I have just learned to eyeball it. All right, so there's my 4.5-inch circle. We'll set that up there. And occasionally I do regret that I threw them out. Most of the time I do okay, in case you're wondering. All right, so we're going to do quite a bit of punching with this, and the reason is because we need 2 rows of this banner from this one piece of paper. So I'm going to place it into my punch all the way to the back shoulder and line up this front corner with the mark on the left hand side, because that's the way I just I'm most comfortable in doing it. If you'd rather feed your paper from left to right, there is a mark over here where you can do the same thing and work in the opposite direction. So we're just going to line it up and punch, and I'm going to probably take this a little slow because I'm using my hand that's still recovering from surgery, so just bear with me here. If it takes too long, I have no doubt that my editor will speed things up for you. Alright, so there's one, and then we're going to do a second line. And to make this easier for me, I'm going to take a Post-it note and I'm going to mark the edge of my paper. The very edge. The reason I do that is so that when I put it into the punch, I can still slide it all the way to the back and see where the edge of my paper is going to be. Otherwise, this is too short of a piece for me to be able to tell. See? So that's helpful. And then I just come back in here and take that off, which I'll do shortly. But first we're going to just come back in here and, oh, come on now. The sticky on that Post-it keeps getting caught on stuff. So we'll just take that off. There. All right. Okay, so let me get rid of my confetti here and we'll peel off the little bit of Post-it that's still stuck to this guy. And then we're going to do just a little bit more punching. I told you we were going to use this a lot today. All right, so there are our two banner punches. We're not going to use this entire thing. We are going to use 7.5 inches. I think that's what the instructions say. Yeah, we're going to use 7.5 inches of this banner punch. It's not going to go fully across. It's only going to go 3/5 of the way across. So there's two more punches that you could do right here, but we're cutting it. So let me grab my trimmer and we'll go ahead and trim this off. And I need the arm out so I can see what 7.5 inches looks like. I'm just stacking this so they'll both be exactly the same. And this one is a little bit hard to keep stacked. 7.5 inches is right there. So let's see. Let me double check my instructions and make sure that's right, because it's going to cut in kind of an awkward place. Trim them to 7.5 inches. That's what it says. Okay, what I'm going to do is slide this just in front and try hard not to cut the flag part. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that very well on my trimmer. Let me show you. Basically, you're going to cut it. You can cut it right there, or you can cut it straight through this circle right here, which is where the punch would normally stop. So it is up to you where you want to cut it. I chose to cut it there. I may trim it down just a little. We'll see how it works. But you want basically 3 full punches in each side. What we probably could have done, and maybe it would have looked cuter, is to just cut around the ball on the end. So if you do this, maybe you'll want to try this. If you just cut it right here at the end of this and right here at the end of this, then that would be, I believe that would be the right measurement. Let's see on my mat here. Yeah, it would be just a hair over by maybe 1/8 of an inch, but I think that would be my choice next time if I was to do this. Again, I would cut it around that little circle knob. And what I might do is go back and cut this circle out and put it over the top of there, and we'll trim those. Anyway, sorry, thoughts that are popping into my head. Okay, let's use our banner punch. We're going to use some of the matching cardstock. The cardstock that I mentioned earlier. This is Eggplant, this is Purple Ice, this is Island Waters, and this is Dark Sea Green. And we're going to use that little bit of blue that we had left over from our punch. Okay, so that's going to give us 5 choices. So I'm going to just punch a row of each of these, and then we're going to play with it for a little bit. Alright, so let me again get rid of my punched pieces. Okay. Now I'm going to grab my precision point scissors so that I can do some trimming. I'm just going to go ahead and cut each of these flags. I'm going to put the straight edge of the flag right against the straight edge of my scissors so that I keep that cut nice and straight. I'm going to just trim off all of these little flags. I'm just going to cut 6 of each of these. I think that's all we're going to need because we're going to have quite a few. 6 may even be too many. We actually may only need 1 of each color, but we do need a couple extra. So just to make sure we have enough to play with this, I'm going to cut 6 of each. All right, so let's go ahead and get these assembled. First I'm going to go ahead and come in here and just trim off the ends of these little circles, neaten them up just a little bit. Since I still have my scissors in my hand, I might as well, right? All right, so there's those. I'm going to grab my repositionable adhesive just in case we need to adjust anything. And before we do that, I'm actually going to go ahead and lay these out. Now, the reason that I cut or trimmed so many is because I was worried that some may be a different size. So see, that one fits just fine, but I'm worried that this middle one might be just a little short. No, actually that looks pretty good. Okay, so I think what we'll do is I'm just going to create a pattern. So we'll do a bit like that. And then we'll start again with the purple and the ice, lavender ice, and then this one, and then this one. And then rather than starting the whole pattern over, since this continues on to the next page, I'm going to let's see. Oh, actually, did I skip one? I did. I skipped one. So we'll start the next one with the blue. And I'm going to go ahead and adhere these so that they are good to go, and then we will assemble our pages. Alright, so I've gone ahead and added all of my colored flags, which I like so much better than just a plain solid colored banner. But you can do, you know, if you'd rather just make yours solid colored, that's completely up to you. And I've also added these round pieces from the extra banner parts, and that will enable me to feel like it's a little more balanced, because it looked a little bit just not balanced before. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this assembled, and I'm just moving some of my tools out of the way here, and I'll just put these here on top of that, grab my base sheets. Okay, so here's our sample, and this is the diagram, the sketch that we are going to use to assemble this. I'm going to do one side at a time, so I'll just put that back up there. And we're going to go ahead and take one of these outer edge pieces. I'm going to use this one, and I'm going to grab my permanent adhesive and just go ahead and put 5 roughly a ½ inch long bits of adhesive, and sometimes I just add a little tiny bit along that outer edge as well. I'm going to put that green spot kind of towards the outside. We'll go like, hang on, that's not quite where I want it. And best to adjust it now because it will not come up later, at least not willingly. So we'll just fix it. There. Okay. And then we're going to take this, one of these 1/4 inch pieces and our repositionable adhesive, and we're going to go put that in several pieces or several places down that skinny little piece. And this is going to go right along the edge of the right along the inside edge of that designer paper that you just put down. If you want, you can overlap it. Depends on how well you cut your paper, but if you want, you could overlap it on top so that you make sure that that there's no gap. But if you can cut it straight enough, then you should just be able to lay that right down, right at the edge, and you're good to go. Okay. So then we've got this circle. They've got this circle, and they've got one of our mats right here. And then we will do some embellishing. So keep that in mind. I'm just going to set that aside. Really, that's all there is to that, plus, well, we do have our banners and things, but we'll get to those in just a second. Okay, so I'm going to grab again this wide piece right here, and I'm going to, oh, you know what? I did forget a piece. Okay, that's not a big deal. We're going to go back and catch it in just a second. Okay, so we're going to bring this side of the layout up to the same spot the other side is, and then we'll go back and catch that piece. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and still put that green spot kind of to the outside corner, just like we did with the other layout, or the other side of this layout, sorry. Okay, there's that. It's so pretty. I just love that they chose to do that. Make those watercolor, just makes me happy. I'm a water baby. I gain a lot of comfort from water. Not everybody does, but I do, and I have for most of my life, except for a brief moment when I was 3 years old, and it scared me to death. You can ask my mother. It helped that my mom taught swimming lessons, so she was very accustomed to water. All right, let's see now. This should, yeah, this goes right into that spot at the top. Okay, so we're going to, I'm going to use my permanent adhesive and go ahead and put this piece right into that top corner and right along the top edge. Mine was just a tiny bit long, so it does overlap my 1/4 inch piece just a little bit, and because I'm fussy this way, I'm just going to lift this up because it's repositionable, because I'd rather have that be on top than have my other one. Okay, so there's that. Let's grab this other one, the other side, and we'll go ahead and get this piece put on the other side. We may have to lift up that 1/4 inch strip again on this side. Let's see. Nope, that actually was just right on that side. So I don't know. I'm not sure what I did with that other piece, but at any rate, that is what it is, right? Okay, so now we're going to come in here with our banners, And if you wanted to, you probably could play with some foam squares on these banners. I'm not going to on this just because I'm not really sure what I'm going to use this for just yet. But this is going to go, and the blue one is kind of getting lost in the middle. I'll just tell you. Oh, hello. So, something to consider. Maybe you don't want to use the same cardstock to make the banner bit right here, because it does get lost. So maybe what we could do is just replace it. What color would we replace it with? Maybe the island green or the lavender ice. I think I'd go with the island green. So let's just, I'm going to take this off of this piece. I can either leave that blue there, or we can put another green one in there. I'll have to think about that for a sec. All right, let's think about that while we get this one ready to go. And then we have two spots on this one that are going to need modifications because of that change. Let's get it on here and then we'll figure it out. So I'm going to line up my papers so that I know where this one needs to go, so that it is in this at the same level as the other side of the banner. Just like that. Okay. Then I'm going to come in here and remove these blue ones, just like we did on the other side. And honestly, I could just leave the light blue that we punched it from, and that would work. I think I like that. Then I don't have to try to figure out the balance of the colors again. So I'm just gonna, this is the benefit of using repositionable adhesive, right? We reap those benefits all the time. Because you just rub it off and you are good to go. All right, so then this mat is gonna go over here. We've got this mat that kind of protrudes into, I'm gonna move this over so you can see a little bit more centered. All right. And then I've noticed, I don't know if this is a new trend or if I'm just paying more attention, but I've noticed that our CM designers are kind of moving towards only putting 2 clusters of embellishments on a layout sometimes. They don't do it all the time, but they have done it in this particular instance, because you'll notice they've got kind of a title up here, right here, and then they've got another embellishment over here over another like 4x6 photo that they've got right here. Okay, sorry about that. My wrist needed a minute, so I'm sure that my sweetheart will edit that out so you're not having to wait for me. But all right, so we've got those there and those there, and I pulled a couple of things. I pulled a matte card, which I thought looked fun, that says the little moments. And what I want to do with this is go ahead and just trim this with a border. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim about 1/8 of an inch border all the way around the edges of this. Okay, so You can keep this and use it for something else if you want to, or not, whatever makes you happy. But I'm going to give it an 1/8 of an inch trim. Wow. It'll be left with an 1/8 of an inch left. You may be wondering how I'm doing this. So it's easy on the straight sides. It's a little bit more difficult on a jagged or a uneven side, but I'm lining up visually the corner here and the corner here with the end of the dark blue. And if I do that, then I get an even cut, an even border all the way around my piece. I'm sure there are other tricks other people use, but that's how I do it. All right, so now we've got our cute little moments, and then we're just going to build a couple of clusters. We're going to build at least 2 clusters. Maybe we'll build 2 clusters and a title. We're going to use this as our title. It's going to go up here. So we'll add this mat a little bit underneath it. And then I pulled Picture Perfect and Happy Everything. Happy Everything is also used in our sample up here. And I pulled several of the black butterfly embellishments from the embellishment pack. I thought we would choose some things from the sticker pack as well to go with these. So, and my thought was that this one I would kind of put right in this area, and then this one would go up here where you've seen it on the sample. So I think what we'll do is we'll add this guy to our title up here. We'll add this one to our pictures, and we'll add this one to our Happy Everything. Happy Everything. I'm going to use repositionable adhesive to do this so that I can rub it off the places that I don't end up using it. Actually put this a little over here since I added adhesive in that way. And then we can add another butterfly, one that's not just like that one. Maybe this smaller one. Or maybe we should add a colored one. I really like this one. And maybe we'll pop this one up to give it a little pizzazz. Okay, so let's go ahead and put this down. I'm going to add it in right here, so that I can journal a little bit underneath it in that lighter space, and then I can add photos below it. Either one photo or more photos, depending on what I end up deciding to do with this particular layout. Alright, and then over here, let's go ahead and I'm just going to stick my mats down so that they don't get lost in the shuffle, because honestly, like happens so often when I do these project recipes, I don't yet know what photos will go on this, so I'm just sort of hoping that whatever I choose is going to go on here and be appropriate and work with these photos. But because I'm using repositionable, if I want to flip it and make it a vertical photo, it should be a little easier to do. Should that be the case? I'm just trying to make this at the same level as this other mat over here, so that if it ends up staying there and I just add more adhesive on the edges, it will already be in the right place. All right, let's do this and the circle. Circles are not going to change their, like you can't turn it and have it be a different circle, right? But just in case we need to move it, I'm putting it on with repositionable adhesive as well. Okay, I'm going to center that and center that. Perfect. Okay, and then we have one more embellishment to do, and all will be well. What should we put with this guy? Another butterfly. We could do one of these maybe. He's pretty. Or this one. Maybe we'll do this one. All right. The thing about these is I don't want their wings to get stuck down, so we'll add just a couple extra ones. A couple extra foam squares. Never hurt anybody, right? As long as it's not stacked. That would be a very high butterfly if he was stacked up. Okay. So this one's gonna just go, so he's touching both of those mats just a little bit. And because he's popped up, as long as that foam square isn't going to impede the size of that circle, we should be okay to put him right there, because the picture will slide up underneath just enough. All right. Well, I think that about does it for this time around, guys. Let's check it out without all of the distractions. Move that. I'll put this right here. Can you see that well enough? I know that this, the base page I chose kind of blends into my mat that I'm working on my tabletop, but hopefully that's easy enough to be seen. I like it. I really like the variation in the flags up here. I don't think I would have liked it as well if I had left that all one color. So, you know, if you are more simplified in your life and your style of scrapping, then by all means just do one color of a banner and you'll be just fine. And if you would rather, jazz it up. And this layout is relatively quick and easy. The thing that takes longer is the adding of the color to the banner. So it'd be super fast if you don't do that. And I think you'll really, really like this layout. So make sure you do it and add it to your album. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you have many more creative moments. Make it a great day.